Hey everyone, I am coming to you from under my island. Well, actually it's a peninsula, but it is as close to an island as I am ever going to have in this house. So we're just gonna pretend it's an island. So as part of my kitchen makeover, I am going to be redoing and repainting all the cabinets. But this guy right here needs more than just paint. I think it needs some character. So after going through a whole bunch of different ideas, I have decided to add some trim to this cabinet. Let's get started. I started by taking out all the old trim and any remaining nails, so I had a flat surface on the cabinet to start with. There were a bunch of holes left behind from removing the corbels from under the original countertop. I filled them up with wood putty along with filling in any seams or other holes in the cabinet. While the wood putty was drying, I went ahead and measured the cabinet to determine the number of boards I needed. I planned on using 1.5 inch boards with a 3/4 inch gap. So I divided the total width by that number to get the total number of the boards. Using the cheaper 1x2 boards is definitely an option, but finding good quality boards can take time. I decided to go with pre-primed boards even though they are more expensive. They are better quality and already primed, and that will save me a lot of time. Now back to the island. I sanded the wood filler using a sanding sponge and roughed up the veneer as well. This is laminate veneer, and the process to paint it is similar to painting any laminate or veneer cabinet. I have a full tutorial on that, and you can find a link to it in the description below. You don't have to sand it all the way down, just a little bit of roughening up for the primer to have something to grip onto. And then just go ahead and clean all the dust with a wet cloth or a tack cloth. Now let's cut the boards. They are all the same length, and it would have been perfect to set up a stop on the miter saw so you can cut them all at equal lengths quickly. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability, so I just carefully measured and cut them up one by one. In total, I cut 43 pieces for the entire island. So I want the slats to kind of wrap around this corner, but I don't want the seam to be on that side. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to attach this right here and then overlap this on the front so that the seam is on this side. But this becomes wider than 1.5 inches. So this first board right here, I am going to split it at 3/4 inch. So then we have a 1.5 inch board, and then continue from then on. I used my table saw to rip up that first board. I started at the outer edge and attached the ripped board using 1.25 inch brad nails. Then I attached the board on the other side to cover up the exposed edge as tightly as possible. For the next slat, I used a scrap 1x2 board as a spacer and attached the board. Then it's just repeat board by board by board. I continued the same on the other side as well. The bottom did not have a toe kick, so I attached a temporary board and used it to keep all my slats level. Now the island width wasn't perfectly divisible by the width of the boards. There was 1/8 inch that was extra. To account for that, I aligned and attached the final board first. And then I attached the board before that in the middle. The 1/16 inch difference in spacing is hardly visible to the eye. Now it's time to make everything look perfect, especially that seam at the corner. I filled that and all the nail holes with wood putty. The next day, I sanded all the wood putty and also took the time to sand down the boards to get a smooth finish. Then I wiped it all down and caulked any remaining seams. Now for the primer. For laminate veneer, I am using a shellac-based primer, which helps grip and create a durable painted surface. I should have considered doing this before adding the slats, and it would have definitely been a lot easier, but this works as well. You do need 2 coats of the primer to get good adhesion and good coverage. Then I used a regular primer on all the areas that were filled with wood putty. This helps reduce flashing over time as paint absorbs differently on the primed versus the non-primed areas. Then I taped all the edges and got to painting. So we are ready to paint now, but I realized that these corners down here are pretty sharp and you wouldn't want to accidentally nick your foot against it. So we are going to go ahead and use a sanding sponge and sort of give it a little round over. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to lose the crisp look of the slats either. So there's a very fine balance between them. I use my favorite brush to paint between the gaps in the slats and a fine finish roller for the slats themselves. I have to confess, I had considered using a paint sprayer but decided not to because it was just a little area and I would have had to tape and cover up everything in the kitchen. But about halfway through, I wish I had done it because it would have been so much faster. But it was too late now and I just went ahead and finished painting it. A couple coats of paint later, we are done. It is a super easy update and it brings tons of character to a bland island. I am so excited to see the color that I picked for the cabinets come alive here. This island is everything I had imagined. Next up is painting the cabinets, all new doors, new hardware, and lots of finishing touches. We are so close to the finish line and I cannot wait. Stay tuned and I'll see you soon.